Well, whether you're an athlete, you're a human, you're a hippie, an earthling, you're out there, you're doing your best for your country, like my dog there, you can hear him in the background. Whoever you are, in fact, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and who you're doing it to, like this E25. Oh, happy days, you're doing it. Like a crash test dummy. I've got a couple of games today to have a look at. I'm going to do a quick look at Port Bay right off the bat. And I want to talk about how much the game has evolved. And how the meta constantly changes in the game. You can see Port Bay used to all just rush far left, and then the guys spawning from that southeast corner started getting TDs up on hills behind, which you'll see in just a wee while. And so you couldn't really push hard left because you could just be spammed by big-ass TDs like the T110E4 I'm about to spot up here at the back. So people started pushing across onto this little hill here and getting side shots on the mediums, or conversely pushing forward and spotting tanks at the back like that and getting their TDs wrecked, which is great. And I just think there's no certainties in this game anymore. The game has evolved now to the point where it's quite complex, and you can plan for all eventualities and take your best guesses, as you probably saw me doing in the last video. And yet you can still end up with egg on your face just because someone does something a little bit different, and that little bit of difference, that little change, can often be the reason why things go tremendously well for your team or terribly. And that was very much the case with the old Falls Creek, where everyone used to camp the bridge. Well, not everyone, but players who really didn't like winning camped the bridge a lot. And they would camp the bridge, and then, you know, they'd either get capped out, or, I mean, let's be honest, Falls Creek used to have more cap outs than any other map in existence pretty much ever, apart from maybe the original Oasis Palms, where people would have TD battles in the spawn, much like this. Now keep an eye on our T62A. No one is spotted yet. No one. He is on the bridge already as a medium with 7 unspotted red tanks. He's going to last about 30 seconds. Okay. He's just an idiot. I mean, I don't want to make him sound like a bad player or anything, because that's what he is. But honest to God, like, what are you thinking? Look where he is. And this is Falls Creek. Now, Falls Creek has degenerated into a hell of a slanging match. I get so much abuse on this map because I don't go bridge, and I don't really care about the people that go bridge. But I mean, you'll see this. I've now moved back, and they're still in the spawn. There's an Object 704 and an M103 over there. Some bloke called US Army who carries on like a pork chop and calls everyone an effing noob, which is not the only one in our team that does that. And I can't help but take immense delight in this, and I take my absolute time in this game and make sure that I'm at full hit points for as long as possible, and I'm happy to take damage off them. Basically, I'm just using them to do damage because they're defending a spawn. They're defending a spawn point. Literally, they spawn in. The T62A did his best to YOLO. And this is Falls Creek now. No one caps now because the cap circle is so wide open that it's nearly impossible. It's like a Port Bay cap circle. You're not going to cap this one out. It's like a Vineyards cap circle. If there's any kind of competitive edge going on, you're not capping out anything. And we had a T62A YOLO. Oh, here we go. Listen to him. The US Army guy who was defending his spawn for God knows what. Look at him. The T54 as well. They sat in their respawn. They didn't waste any petrol, obviously. And the 62A just drove across the bridge and got smashed. And then they're going to go on like pork chops. So I can't help myself. I have a little bit of fun. We'll see what happens here. But this is Falls Creek, all in a nutshell now. Now, bridge is a more valid place, basically because the cap is available now. And so you can't be capped out by going bridge, which was a big issue before. If you went to the cap, you maintained all the power on the map. You could simply put one tank in the cap and defend that tank, and you could die and there'd be no damage done at all. I had so many games where everyone was alive and there was like 1,000 damage total on each team. And now that's not going to happen because the cap is just incredibly hard to cap out, which is good. That's good. And the bridge becomes, I guess, a valid tactic, if you like, the Reds, where you just charge over the bridge as a unit and do the business. But that's not what most people do. Most people treat it... If you ever played Team Fortress, which was a mod for Half-Life, you would have known there was a map called Two Fort, and that's what the bridge now is. It's like the battlements of Two Fort, with a whole bunch of snipers on either side trying to pick each other off, respawning and going up there again. Only you don't respawn in Blitz. You end up with a whole bunch of snipers on either side, and some of them are not very well suited to the job, let's say. So these guys have not shut up yet. And I'm trying not to drag this one out, so I'll just fast forward it a little bit. I've gone right up the back. I'm just going to sit there, and I'm driving them absolutely insane. They are losing their bananas. I was on Discord at the time, and I was enjoying this immensely. Look at them. They are losing their bananas. So the cap's being done. There is, excuse me, a 183 and an IS-4 left. Now, I bounced a kill shot on the IS-4 earlier. I don't know if you were watching. It was when he went down and smacked that 183 who'd managed to save on petrol and is a very green 103. He didn't drive out of his spawn, so he did really, really well. Go fucker. You gotta love him, US Army, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're probably doing it badly, like you did in this game. Yukaze 09, likewise, buddy, you were amazing. The way you drove into the 7 red tanks gave me a little thrill right down in my private bits. I just couldn't help it. But it's got to 33 seconds, so I may as well get on with business. And we're going to take one from the 183. I was a little bit wary of the 183 because there is a chance he could have put Hesh straight through the turret, but it didn't happen. And then we're going to drive forward. Now, I've got a game after this that was absolutely fantastic. It was one of the most lovely games I've had in quite some time. It wasn't enormous damage. It was all right. But it was just one of those games where things went right for a while, and then they went badly, and then we struggled mightily, and it ended up with a fantastic finish. And it was with my good mate Rich Locker MP. So you can see there, hats off to those dills in the green team, who I've now eviscerated, if not in fiction, at least on YouTube. And I'm not very unhappy if they want to, if anyone wants to poke fun at them, because honest to God, did you see them? They never shut up. They're a bunch of, well, they're not very nice people. Now, the other team has a couple of really good players. There's a guy from Ram, and there's Replica Tank, who's now with, is he with DH? I think he's with DH, maybe. He used to be with, I think he was with ID, Replica Tank, one of the good clans on the Asian server, one of the original clans on the Asian server. They all paid gold, changed their names to ID. Good bunch of blokes, whatever. They had fun together. And we've pushed really hard around to the left. Rich and I are in the mediums. I'm in the 140. I have to change my loadout, right? Do you see that? It's still like 20, 20, 20. Eventually, I'll remember. I've started doing it on a few tanks, but keep reminding me. And I also have to change my kits. I know, but I keep forgetting to do it because I'm doing other stuff and building sites and doing all kinds of rubbish stuff. I think that's Replica Tank there. Now, we've pushed very hard up the left edge. I'm right on that red zone line. It's really important you use as much space on a map as possible. The reason I always go near a zone line or that red line along the left is because it puts you further away from people. If you don't want to be spotted, get further away. And the game's given you a rangefinder, so use it and figure out how far away you are, because, I mean, that's what the game revolves around. You can take the worst tank in the world and play it with good mechanics and do fantastically well. Good camo mechanics, being aware of your tank's position, everything like that. It's really important. The STB-1, I believe that's the platoon mate of the Object 140, and they're pushing down here on the right. Now, I've seen something here that worries me immensely. If you're looking at the radar, you'll see there's 4 red tanks spotted, now 5 red tanks spotted, and we've got 3 guys stuck in a corner down there. if they get pushed from the cap circle and from the bottom, they're going to be in a really, really tight fix, especially if one or two of them get isolated. And you can see right there, that's exactly what's happened. And I've basically pushed the button, and I'm now going to race down there as quickly as possible, because that's where the action is. That's exactly where it's going to go down. And we've got to stop them from crossing around and just rolling up this flank, because we're now, in a very precarious position. There's 3 guys down there. We're going to push right around hard to the right-hand side, back down so we get flank shots. Now, something that I do a lot of, and which a lot of people take for granted, when you move to a position to put shots in, remember, you don't have to drive right up to them. Drive to cover where you can put a shot in, which is what I'm doing here. This little berm, I'm in the 140, I'm going to push down. There you go, there's a 54, and I'm going to go back. Now, I make an error here with a shot on the STB in a bit, but we're pumping into the back of this IS-8 right now, and it's well and good that we are, because it's 3 tanks to 5, and we're really in a little bit of strife. We're going to nut the IS-8 though. We bring it back to 1, and then if we can nut this IS-8, happy days. We're 1 down again, and this is the error. I shouldn't have pushed up here. I should have stayed behind my berm. But whatever the case may be, I put one into the Leo. The STB is going to hit me again. I'm being told to move, and that's an awful lot of tanks left to kill. But I get a fantastic shot and set the engine on fire in the STB-1, which is wonderful. And I'm waiting for a chance at shooting him, and I'm looking for the 140. He's going to be coming on my left at some point. Get one into the Leo, moving backwards and forwards, and I start tunneling a touch here. I missed the 140 when he pops, but there you go. He let me know, and we get a wonderful shot right into the top. Replica Tank's a very good player, has been for some time. And there's the Leo. So we're up against it here. He's got me on the hit points, but we've both dropped adrenaline. And I managed to get one in, but then the STB-1 whacks me as well. Getting very, very tense here. We've got to push up hard. Now what I want to do here is get as close to the Leo as possible. He's got too good a pen, he's got too good a gun, and he's got enough alpha. I can't afford to have him at any kind of range, and we bump him off, and are lucky enough to get the win. And immediately I know that STB-1 will be pushing up straight away. And you can see, because of my stupid loadout, I've run through all 20 of my APCR, and I'm now onto heat. And what I'm going to do right now is something I always preach, which is just wait for them to do something silly. And that's not going to really happen though, because the STB-1's a good player. And you can see both of us. So I'm going to fake a withdrawal and get behind this tank. So I'm a little bit hull down, and then just set it up here so he can't really see any of my tank when he comes around that corner. And yeah, really well played game. I enjoyed that game immensely. That was a really tense one, and I had a great time playing it. The 140 is a hell of a tank. I play all kinds of tanks on this account. I played the T28 prototype today for about 15 games because I need to do a review. And God, I'll never do that again. A Kolobs 5 kills, 5,000 damage. Only a first class, but you get 6k, 6.7k in a 140, and you'll get a mastery badge. But they don't give them away for the 140 or the 62A. In fact, thanks very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed that one. It's always good to have a look at those kind of games and think about what you do when you're doing it right. Taking your time, the deep breaths, moving to positions where you still have cover even with shots on. One of the biggest mistakes I find new players especially make is when they see an enemy and they engage an enemy, they drive towards them. Your gun works just as well at 200 meters as it does at 2 meters. The bullet will still go right through, or the shell will still go right through the armor. You don't need to be right next to them to do the damage. Sometimes it's the best place to be if you're trying to stay alive, like I was with that Leo. But in general terms, remember, stay in cover for as long as possible, as often as possible. And if you do that, you'll probably come out a winner a lot more often, or at least you'll come out alive. If you're up... One of the things, that, and I've said this before, when I was playing with Ruckus, when I first started playing with Ruckus, and I was nowhere near good enough to be playing with the big man, we were chatting about, you know, how do you have such a good win rate and all that. And he said one of the things he does is he really tries to stay alive and survive and not trade hit points and not lose hit points. And if you can up your survival rate and you can take less damage, you'll just have a better chance at the end of the game. You'll have enough hit points to burn through and actually do the damage. So anyway, I'm Bushka on Blitz, guys. Thanks very much for watching. This is a patron-sponsored post. If you haven't already thought about it, please do think about sponsoring the channel. It makes my life a lot easier and gets me through the day and helps with the sleepless nights. And that competition, the details will be going up in the next couple of days, the global damage competition. So until next time, look after your family and stay safe on the battlefield.